So what I want to do for a half second is talk about LSAT Demon. How many people have an LSATdemon.com account? Does anyone not have that account? Okay, so you can, as part of the class, just go there, sign up for it. It's a free trial at first, and then if you email Matt, he can extend your access to the September LSAT so that you don't have to pay for that service. But that is the website I'm working on with Nathan Fox, my podcast co-host. I want you to create an account there and then get your free access until September, because when you log in, you basically have, right now, every day, I get up at 8:30. I get up before that, but at 8:30 I talk to the developers and we work on the website. And it's constant struggle with pushing out new features which tend to break other things, and fixing old features, right, that are now broken because the new features are breaking them. It's getting very convoluted, and it's a very massive website actually when you look at all the code. But the exciting thing is that right now you basically have two core features. You have drilling, and then you have like basically time sections / tests, right? And what I want you to do for homework is I want you to go to the drilling section, because what happens is you can drill logical reasoning, games, and reading comp, and the Demon will take into account the questions you get right and wrong, and then give you new questions based on how well you're doing. Right? So for example, if you go into the Demon and you click on the logical reasoning drilling tool, which is just the very first page you see when you log in, and you start doing logical reasoning questions and you get them wrong, it's okay. It's okay. Get them wrong, it will say, oh, and give you slightly easier ones, right? And it adjusts your difficulty level, and it aims to give you questions that you get correct about 75% of the time. Now the reason for that is that studies have shown that when you're trying to learn a new subject, you want to be getting about 75% of the questions that you're doing correct. Because that means that it's not so easy that you're getting 100% of them correct, right? In that case, you're not really learning anything. And it's not so hard where you're only getting 50% correct, and that's forcing you to like rack your brain more than you should be. You want to be pulled along, maybe pulled is better, pulled along just slightly above your skill level, right? And that's what the Demon's trying to do. So, you create that account at LSATdemon.com, email Matt, he'll extend your access, and then you come in here and you start doing these things. Now tonight, we did some games. You guys know what you're not as good at, and so I would set a goal right now to focus on whatever you're not so good at. Now I know most of us are not so good at, oh, by the way, AR stands for analytical reasoning, which is games, but in any case, most of us are struggling most with the games. So what you should do is log in and then just click on the games drilling tool and start doing games. You can do them on your phone. It's mobile friendly. It slides in and out and all that stuff. Or you can do it on your laptop or whatever. But just do a game. At first it may give you a hard one because it doesn't know how good you are. And you may fail at it and hate yourself. But don't. It's just a stupid game. And then it will give you an easier one, right? Eventually it'll find your skill level, and then you just start doing these games. And the goal that I would set is to do one of these games a day and review the video afterward and really ask yourself, okay, what did I do differently? What could I have done? And if you want, you can redo the game. And the way you redo the game is you go to your study history, and then you'll see all the games you've done, and you can just hit the little redo button and just do it over again if you want to try to do the game again. Yes?
Can you search by game type?
You can't right now, but I actually would suggest not doing that. I would say that, so a long time ago, I used to give people a bunch of ordering games, and I gave them a bunch of grouping games, and I gave them a bunch of in-out games, and then what they found was that they were relying on the fact that they knew it was that type of game more than they realized. And so if you're just randomly throwing a game and you have to figure that out, that's generally going to push you along further. And so that really comes down to difficulty level. That said, it will probably eventually be in there because people ask for that, but I don't know if it's the best way to actually learn. But in any case, if you're struggling more on logical reasoning or reading comp, well, then set your goal to do maybe 5 of these a day or 1 of these a day. Now that's a low goal. And the reason it's so low is that I want you to hit it. I want you to hit it every day, right? If you set a goal, I'm going to do 5 games every day. You do it tomorrow, you do it the next day, and the third day you're like, oh, life is so busy, I can't get to it, and then you do nothing because 5 is so ginormous. I'd rather you do 1 every day, and then every other day or so, or every now and then you do like 2 or 3. Sweet, that's a bonus, right? Set a goal that you can hit every time and nail it, because consistency is super powerful. If you do 1 game a day and you thoroughly review it, in 2 weeks, you will be doing better in games, guaranteed. But if you do like 10 games tomorrow and then don't do it for several days and then come take a practice test and then don't review it because you just have so many games on you in front of you that you have to review, and then you wait a few days and then 2 weeks from now you're like, hey, games are just tough. Well, it's because you're not hitting it consistently, right? Now, my hope is that you shoot to do 1 a day and then realistically you end up doing like 2 or 3 because you're like, I have a little extra time, I'll do another one. But just make sure every day before you go to sleep you've done 1 game, okay? Or 5 LR or 1 reading comp, depending on what you want to focus on. I'm assuming most of us it's going to be games. Sound good? Okay, questions about any of that? Yes?
I have a question. I tried this Demon website today on the desktop computer, and I had troubles with like going to the next question. It would hang, and I had to refresh the website.
Yeah. So right now we're developing it just for Chrome and Safari on the most recent
Chrome
OS.
and the Internet Explorer. I mean, but I didn't know I can do it on the phone, so I guess.
Yeah, give that a shot. Let me know if it's still a problem.
Yeah, I will let you know.
Yeah, just give me a lot of times it just comes down to the exact specs, the browser. Sometimes it's not updated, and then as soon as you update it, it should be working. So that was in the drilling tool.
Yeah, I tried all the
Yeah, so that's generally been bug-free for a while, so let me know if you're still having problems with that. Yeah.
When you go into the history of your
Yeah.
questions, is there a timer? And if so.
So the time is being tracked, it's not being displayed yet. So that we will.
Oh, so it is being tracked.
It is being tracked.
And is it from the time that you start the question and hit submit? Or
It's
just
from
that
the
you have
time
the
you
page
start
open?
the question. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not displayed yet.
Okay.
It's on the to-do list. Yes.
So are the questions that we'll get as we're drilling questions that won't overlap with our practice exams?
That's a very good question. So right now the drilling tool is set to pull from tests 1 through 61. So, and we're going to be focusing on tests that are above that. In class we're working, this is test like 10 or 11 or something like that. So there's a possibility that you might overlap, but there's a huge range of questions there. If you want to save some of those more recent tests, you can actually go into settings and deselect some of the tests that the drilling tool will pull from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you could push it down to like 51 or something like that.
If
And
we've taken other practice tests that we don't want to redo.
yeah, you can also skip questions. So when the question pops up, it will show you the test number and the section number,
Okay.
and you have an option just to click skip, and it will just bypass it and won't affect your algorithm or any way. Any other questions? Okay. Yes.
What the Thursday, like extra help? Is there gonna be a class here?
Yeah. So what happens on Thursdays is that there's usually 2 or 3 tutors walking around answering questions. Most people come in and do homework and then just raise their hand and say, hey, I have some questions.
Okay, so it's not gonna be the same as today.
No, it's not gonna be. It's one-on-one, because you all are gonna be doing most of your work online. If you bring in your phone, you can just work on that and then ask questions. If you have questions from the test and you have a list of questions and you want to come in and you want to specifically talk about those, that's totally fine as well. It's free form. So they just walk around like, oh, you have a question? What do you want to talk about? And then, if you have a ton of questions, you may have to go to someone else first and then come back. But yeah, they just keep walking around answering questions. Yep.
What are the hours for this space? Like, what if I wanted to come in on a Wednesday to study?
So we're reserving this room, so it's not really open outside of class, Thursday nights and Saturdays, unfortunately. Yeah. Yep. Yes.
So how do you do review after you do one of like a reading passage or?
Yeah. So good question. So what happens is you do the questions, right? Let's talk about LR first. So you do a question. If you get it wrong, it tells you that you got it wrong, but it doesn't show you the right answer, so you can try again if you want. Then when you hit submit, help pops up, and I would suggest just start reading the help and figuring out what you did wrong, why you didn't see that when you saw it. If you want, you can flag the question so that when you see it in your study history, you know that you might want to come back to that one. The most important thing is just to kind of dig in and get to a point where you can explain the question and why the answer is right to someone else in your head, and it makes sense intuitively. I would say the biggest mistake that people make at the beginning of their LSAT study is, you choose answer choice B, the correct answer is D. You see that the correct answer is D after, it's like, oh, by the way, you got it wrong, the answer is D. And you read D and you go, oh yeah, that makes sense. And I don't think you're lying to yourself. I think you think that makes sense. But over and over and over again, I say, okay, why does it make sense? And you're just like, well, yeah, it just seems to fit better. And it's like, okay, why does it fit better? Well, it strengthens the argument more. Yes, that's what the question was asking you to do. Why? Like, you have to get into the words. What word in D made it better than B? What words in the passage make one answer fit better, right? We just tend to kind of generalize, and we want to really get into the text and be able to explain to someone else. Imagine someone else who's arguing against you, like, okay, I know the answer is D, but I still feel like it's B for this reason. And you have to be prepared to say, no, it's D for this concrete reason. If you can do that, then even if it takes you 15 minutes or 20 minutes, you're going to then take that lesson into all future logical reasoning questions, where if you just kind of go like, yeah, that makes sense, and go on to the next one. There are people who have come to this class and they've said, I've taken 50 tests and my score is staying the same. And it's like, well, that's probably because you're just like doing a test, kind of assenting to the answer. You're like, yes, the LSAT has said that's the answer, and that kind of makes sense to me. And then you go do another test, as opposed to slowing down, really digging in, learning something, and then moving to the next one. So that's why even this goal of 1 game a day or 5 logical reasoning questions a day may seem low, but if you dig into them and really understand them, then you're more likely to move forward every day, and that's all that matters. A little progress every day is way better than just like doing a ton of questions. Okay, any other questions? They're all good questions.
And do you recommend just doing one of them, or if you have extra time, should you do a time section instead of just like...
Yeah, so I'm thinking for this week, just like choose one and focus on it. But there's absolutely no problem. Like if you do if your goal is 1 game a day and you do 2 games a day and you're just like, okay, I'm sick of games, I hate them, they're my least favorite section, I've already done 2 today, but I want to do LSAT, great, do LR. Or yeah, do a time section. Just go pick an older test and knock it out and see what happens. Yeah, like no problem with extra work, especially if you've hit your goal. Then it's like all that stuff is just extra and bonus. As long as you're reviewing. A lot of times, there are people who sometimes do I guess this goes back to what I was just saying, but they'll do 3 tests a week. And it's like, I don't even know, unless you don't have a job, I don't know how you have time to review that. Or you're getting 175, so you're only missing 6 questions, and then or 7 questions, and it's then that's why you have time to review. But, at that point, you have different problems. So, although people who are scoring at that score, they're still just as stressed as everybody else. They're like, I'm never going to get that 180. You're like, okay. Sorry. But in any case, as long as you're reviewing, then you can do more work. And if you're feeling burned out, as long as you hit your goal, just take a break. I'd rather you come back the next day ready to go than kill yourself and then kind of lose steam. Yes?
Will you be handing out blue books for anyone who didn't get one?
Oh, you don't have one of these?
I do now.
Okay,
Is that
yeah,
okay?
yes, I will give it to you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. So you guys cool? I don't think we have a test on Saturday. You probably know the schedule better than I do, but Thursday extra help. Saturday no test this week.